How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the country. The phone number, 877-973-7425, should you wish to be a part of the program. I gotta deal with this Nancy Mace situation. I just, every once in a while, you see something on TV and you become mindful of the fact that they would never do this to a Democrat. George Stephanopoulos would never do this to a Democrat, shaming a Democrat of rape. This is the exchange between Nancy Mace and George Stephanopoulos on This Week.
And you've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not going to do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim, and I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape.
You know, George Stephanopoulos came to fame by working for a sexual predator named William Jefferson Clinton. And George Stephanopoulos' work got that sexual predator into the White House. George Stephanopoulos has never apologized for advancing the career of a sexual predator who continued to prey on young women when he was president of the United States. And now he wants to shame Nancy Mace. Say, how can you, a rape victim, support a man found guilty of rape? He was not found guilty of rape in a criminal trial. Bill Clinton wound up settling cases. This is the sort of stuff they wouldn't ask of a Democrat. And you can't say Democrats. You can't say, well, we would never do this, because you all supported Bill Clinton. And you supported Hillary Clinton. Oh, don't tell me Hillary Clinton wasn't responsible for encouraging attacks on the people who blew the whistle on Bill Clinton. Members of the media get away with this stuff when they attack Republicans. It's sick, but it's what happens. It is what happens. And, you know, kudos to Nancy Mace for defending herself in this and bringing this up. But this goes back, again, if you weren't here in the first hour, this is Kara Swisher, the progressive commentator on CNN.
if he's going to be shameless, which is his greatest asset, the shamelessness of him, is then Biden has to get in there very hard and go rapist, racist, fascist, over and over and over again. And then the trials are happening at the same time. He's just had to pay, he's just $93 million poorer right now. And just hammer it in with those three things: rapist, racist, fascist.
You notice nobody's challenging her on this. This is the bubble that the Democrats have the privilege of living in, where they can all talk to themselves and say these sorts of things that they themselves have decided are profound winning strategies. Now, Kara Swisher has never run a political campaign in her life. And what gets Democrats priapism is not necessarily what works for the public. Rapist, racist, fascist isn't going to sell with people because most people actually don't believe these things about Donald Trump. They believe they're things Democrats say. Democrats who have surrounded themselves with Joe Biden, who has said all sorts of racist things in the past. Bill Clinton, who was credibly accused of being a sexual predator. Fascism, you mean are we talking about the Republicans and Donald Trump, or the party that just tried to force Donald Trump off the ballot in states, and when they didn't get their way, attacked the Supreme Court for not giving them their way, trying to discredit the Supreme Court? The fascists who pressure corporations into firing conservatives and bullying people. Really, Democrats should look in the mirror when they say rapist, racist, and fascist is which party they're a part of. The party that led to the Civil War. But in their bubble, they get to get away with this stuff. And, you know, I saw someone during the break, they put on Twitter that if Donald Trump loses in 2024, it's going to be because of Donald Trump. That only Trump can beat Trump, and he's beating himself right now. This weekend, he went after Ron DeSantis again, attacked Ron DeSantis again. He's actually said more critical of Ron DeSantis since Ron DeSantis dropped out than of Nikki Haley since Nikki Haley dropped out. If you want to repair the party and unite the party to beat Joe Biden, maybe you should stop attacking Ron DeSantis. No impulse control. But along the way, I think the people who are saying that only Donald Trump can beat Donald Trump, they're right, because Trump has no impulse control and will sometimes say things and alienate people. Biden is a more traditional politician with more message discipline. But it is going to be Trump who beats Trump, and right now Trump is beating Biden. And he's doing so because the Democrats have this blessed little bubble they live in, where they go on television and think that the winning message is to call Donald Trump a rapist, racist, fascist, when nobody actually cares, because nobody actually believes it. What people believe is that they're far less safe in their communities these days, that the Democrats prioritize apologizing to illegal aliens for calling them illegal aliens than apologizing to the families of the victims of murder, that the Democrats are still trying to justify the economy and saying the economy is fine. This is Gary Cohen. He was on Face the Nation. He was one of Donald Trump's economic advisors, explaining the problems with the economy that are still out there.
But the president is tapping into at least a perception that wealthy people have far more of an advantage, and that corporations are taking advantage of the little guy. I mean, he went down to the 10% fewer Snickers in the bag analogy in his speech, basically saying you're getting ripped off. So what do you make of that idea, though, and the explanation he's trying to make for why people are experiencing inflation, even though the rate is coming down?
Well, let's talk about inflation for a minute, because I think it's a really important concept for everyone to understand. Inflation has a compounding effect, meaning as you look at inflation year over year, you're adding up those numbers. You're not starting at a zero every year. So if we had 6% inflation last year, 7% inflation, and now we have 4% inflation, that's 10% inflation. So if you take a basket of groceries at the beginning of 2020, just a simple basic basket that cost $100, it costs well over $125 today, because those 4% one year and 7% one year and 7% the next year, they add up. They're cumulative. So there's a huge cumulative effect to inflation.
So when people are being told, consumers, you're wrong, inflation's heading, no, they're right.
They're completely right.
Actually
they're completely right. And what they're more right about is we at least finally have gotten to the position where wage growth is faster than inflation. But we had not been there until the last few months. So people were losing purchasing power, and that's why people were angry. And then take on top of that the high interest rate environment, where if you thought you might have been in a position to buy a house because you saved money, you go out to get a mortgage at 7 or 8%, you can't afford a house. So people got very frustrated because the cost of their everyday lives got very expensive, and the cost of investing in their future by buying a home got nearly impossible.
That's Gary Cohen. He was one of Donald Trump's economic advisors, a great salesman for why the economy is so screwed up under Joe Biden. And the Democrats in their bubble, they don't hear this. The Democrats in their bubble think it's fine shaming a rape victim for supporting Donald Trump, who they think is a rapist, racist, fascist. And they believe that telling everyone this will actually work well for them. This isn't going to sell. And they can't get it. And it's a good thing that they can't get it. They undermine themselves. And it's not a bad thing. What's so remarkable, though, is that you and I can see this. We can see where this train is going. And they can't because they don't trust anyone but themselves. In 2016, Hillary Clinton lost because she let Robbie Mook run her campaign from Brooklyn. And even Bill Clinton was exasperated and believed that they were shutting out anyone who didn't sound like an urban hipster progressive from Brooklyn. And she lost. They decided they had to blame the Russians. They couldn't blame Hillary Clinton or Robbie Mook. But it ultimately was they only wanted to take advice from people who sound like them and had their own lived experience, which is not the broad array of Americans. It's a very small number of Americans. The people who say Latinx and think that boys can become girls are actually not even a large minority in this country. They're a very small minority in this country, and yet they are disproportionately the loudest voices in the room of the Democratic Party, continuing to lead them astray. Only Donald Trump can beat Donald Trump because the Democrats only listen to this tiny minority of Americans who believe Latinx is a real word to call people, and that boys can become girls and girls can become boys, and there's nothing wrong with it, and we should encourage it. Those are the people who are out to lunch and out of step with the American public. Those are the people who believe that grocery prices have come down. Grocery prices have not come down. They're just not going up as fast as they were. Joe Biden and the Democrats, their only message is Donald Trump is going to be bad. He's a rapist, racist, fascist. The problem is Americans who vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden in 2024 are the Americans who lived through Donald Trump. And the polls suggest these Americans who didn't like Donald Trump are starting to realize it wasn't as bad when he was president. And you know what that just means? It means the Democrats are going to dial up the outrage. They're going to dial up the shame. They're going to shame anyone who says they'd vote for Donald Trump. You know, the other day I put up my tweet and just said it was kind of insane to me that the Democrats, or I'm sorry, the Republicans, did not allow Donald Trump to give the State of the Union response. And some of these anti-Trump people are like, what happened to you? I can't believe you're on the Trump train now. I thought you didn't like Donald Trump. It doesn't matter whether I like Trump or not. Just as a matter of politics, having Donald Trump give the State of the Union response would have been gold. It would have been great for the GOP. But there are people who are just broken in politics. You can either only say nice stuff about someone or only say bad stuff about someone. You just can't call balls and strikes. You can't be objective in your analysis. You can't be objective. And the Democrats are actually worse about it than the Republicans. If you say anything nice about Donald Trump, you say anything bad about Joe Biden, you're not in line. You're a hater. You're undermining the party and the goodwill. The fact of the matter is the Democrats need people to be critical internally. They won't listen to me. I'm a conservative talk radio show host. Problem is there are plenty of Democrats behind the scenes telling them the same thing, and they won't listen to them because they're not telling them what they want to hear. In their bubble, in their blessed bubble, they get to learn that everything is all right. They can shame rape victims who are supporting Donald Trump. They can just go out and slander Donald Trump. They don't have to deal with the policies. They don't have to deal with the economy. They can tell everyone the economy is A-OK, hunky-dory, and fine. There's no problem there. And if you believe there is, you're a hater, racist, bigot. All the Democrats have at this point is shaming other people, and people are tired of being shamed when they can't afford their groceries now. and they're not going to vote for Democrats because of it. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very happy to have you. Now, we got to move on to a lot of other stuff. Before I get there, though, just a very brief update. In Athens, Clarke County, a lot of money is being spent there. This is where Laken Riley was murdered. Donald Trump met her family, by the way, which I kind of suspected. I'm trying not to be crass and drag politics into this, but the family lived in north of Atlanta, and given where they lived, I kind of suspected probably Republicans. They were at the Trump rally. He met with them. It is remarkable, though, that this family's potential political alignment would shape the thinking at this White House. A murdered American is neither Republican nor Democrat. And that this president refuses to acknowledge it, got her name wrong, and apologized to the illegal aliens, just something. Now in Athens, Clarke County, massive pile of money is being spent to try to defeat the district attorney. There are two counties in that district. It's the Western Judicial Circuit in Georgia, Oconee County and Clarke County, Athens, Clarke County. Athens is the city. It's combined with the county, Clarke County. Those two counties together, Oconee, very Republican, and Clarke County, very progressive. It's got some Republican sections, though. It's going to be a massive, massive need for turnout to make something like this happen, to oust that DA, but there is a credible challenger that is emerging, and the DA is in over her head there. Just a tragedy, though. And, since that happened, there have been now a number of other incidents where people have died, either murdered or in car wrecks and the like, with illegal aliens in the country. The numbers keep going up. And they keep saying, well, actually, more illegal Americans kill people than illegal. It doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. The fact that the Democrats think that is a viable talking point, even the president of the State of the Union pivoted to how many legal kill people, not illegal, trying to turn a death into a statistic as opposed to what it was, a terrible tragedy caused by progressive policies, is not going to help the Democrats. I honestly, as someone just on the outside looking in, who's done politics for a living, run campaigns, I'm kind of stunned at the messaging of the Democrats on this issue. Now, I got to tell you about my bank, Old Glory Bank. There are a lot of un-American antics happening around major U.S. banks these days as progressives have gotten their claws in them. They share lawful transactions with the federal government. They block you from lawful transactions because they don't like who you're doing business with. They debank you, shut down your account because of who you are and what you support. Old Glory Bank has an Americans Banking Bill of Rights. It's a big deal for banking consumers. They protect your freedom of association. They protect your financial privacy. They protect you from censorship, and they support American values. The right to bank with institutions that support your values. Old Glory Bank is my bank. They have no fees on their checking and savings account. They're a great bank. They're a real bank. They're oldglorybank.com. If you go to oldglorybank.com, you can set up an account for yourself or your kids less than 8 minutes. It really is a great bank. I really have it's rare to be effusive with praise for a bank, but y'all, I can put my money in and it's not going to get eaten alive with bank fees, and I get great interest rates on my savings account. Oldglorybank.com, member FDIC, terms and conditions apply. Go get yourself an account with oldglorybank.com. Greetings and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Glad to have you with me. The phone number 877-973-7425. Real quick, some folk from South Carolina, because of something I said earlier, I should have been clear about party registration and Nikki Haley and the voters voting in the Republican primary. There, 80% were Republicans. We were like, how do you know? Because we don't register by party. Well, you don't register by party, just like we don't in Georgia, where I am, but you have to choose, are you going to vote in the Democratic primary or the Republican primary? That's how you are determined to be a Republican or a Democrat. And the people who voted in the Republican primary, 80% of them are repeat Republican primary voters, not Democratic primary voters. Only 20% of the people who voted in the last Democratic presidential primaries. So that's how they say it's Republican, not because there's an official designation that is made, but you choose by voting the Republican or the Democratic primary, your party designation that way. So that's what I was talking about. I'm sorry if you got confused, but That's the way it works, and that's what happened. And so, no, for all the people saying it was just this massive wave of Democrats in South Carolina, actually, it wasn't. Only about 20 to 25% of the people who voted were people who voted in Democratic primaries in the past. And we're not talking, the Democratic primaries where, like, you got to go vote for the sheriff in your county. No, people who voted in presidential primaries. So I hope that clarifies things. Now, I want to go back to the phones. I actually want to take Jimmy's phone call here. Jimmy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I've always struggled with Donald Trump, and I watched a video one time of a man asking him, "Do you ask for forgiveness?" And he says, "No, I just try to do better." And he was talking to him about being a Christian. And you can't be a Christian and be like that. That's not Christianity. But the thing is, if you take the abortion issue, okay, Donald Trump used to be for it, now he's against it. Biden's for it. You take that out. You take that out of both of them. Biden is a much moral person than Donald Trump. Trump is a very immoral person, but he is a much better president. And as a very conservative Christian, it's hard at times to say, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. When I'm in certain situations or putting something on my car, or I've had Christian friends, the last time he ran, would not vote for him because he's such an immoral man. And it dawned on me last week, that's it. That's part of the problem. And now he's jumping on the governor of Florida. What is that about? That's just being mean and nasty.
Well,
I mean, he doesn't have a good bone in his body almost.
So, Jimmy, let's unpack this before I get all the hate mail. Okay. So I would submit this to you. Look, I've said all along, character counts. And I don't think Trump has great character. But I also think Joe Biden doesn't have great character. And you can say that, well, Donald Trump is more immoral than Joe Biden. Joe Biden certainly hasn't cheated on his multiple wives and been divorced multiple times and all that. You can look at the morality or immorality there, but you also you pick your poison because they're both sinners. We're all sinners. Now, it is true, Donald Trump has repeatedly said, and I would not actually put Donald Trump in the class of person I would consider a Christian for this reason. Don't get mad at me for saying that. Because what do you need to be a Christian? As Peter says in Acts 2, repent and be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. Donald Trump was baptized in the Presbyterian Church, but he has been asked, including by me, multiple times, have you ever felt the need to repent? And he said no. He's never had to repent of anything. Now, that's kind of a red flag for me. At the same time, Joe Biden says he's a practicing Catholic, and Joe Biden is an aggressive supporter of abortion rights till birth. My problem here is that we're having this discussion of morality and immorality about two men, neither of whom should be their party's nominees and yet are. We should have a better crop of candidates. We're having to relitigate 2020 all over again, and I'm not thrilled about that. I'm not going to tell anybody who to vote for. You know, I used to say vote for the conservative in the primary and the Republican in the general. And then in 2016, I couldn't bring myself to vote for Trump. I was willing to support him in 2020. And I recognize I would much prefer Trump policies to Biden policies come 2024. But I am not excited about voting in the election in 2024 at all. We had such a good crop of candidates, and yet the powers that be in the Republican Party, the base of the party, decided they wanted to do this all over again. I'm not thrilled about it. I think Trump is a deeply flawed person. And I recognize there are people saying, well, I'm not voting for a pastor or a priest. I'm voting for president of the United States, but I'd at least like a president that even if I disagreed with his policies, my kids could say, yeah, okay, that guy's a good leader. The question at the end of the day for voters is going to be, like you said, an immoral person but a better president. Whose policies do you prefer? For a lot of people, they're going to be there. I will tell you, though, I'm also mindful there's a growing group of people out there who view their vote, particularly people of faith, as an act of stewardship. Voting is an act of stewardship. And in some cases, there are going to be a number of people who think that the best thing they can do to steward their vote is to not vote, to leave the line blank or to not show up because they need to register their dissatisfaction with the quality of the candidates. And the only way to register their dissatisfaction with the quality of the candidates is to not participate. When you view both candidates as the suicide of the country and you don't want to participate in suicide, you don't participate. And I get that too. I think they're all valid reasons. I'm gone are the days where I'm going to tell people you must vote and here's who you must vote for. I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I think, but to each his own. It is your vote and it is your act of stewardship. I would say, however, one of the things the Democrats want you to do is to decide that the moral conduct of Donald Trump is so outrageous that you must vote Democrat. I don't think that's the case at all. I would agree Donald Trump is terrible character and is not a moral person. But I also think when you look at the policies advanced by Joe Biden, whether you think he's a better man or not, his policies are far more immoral. Treating boys as girls, allowing the sterilization of boys and girls through trans surgeries, putting boys in girls' sports, releasing criminal elements into the streets to harass and be cruel to the population, overwhelming our borders with illegal aliens, giving them no hope when they're here, treating them terribly when they're here, and then allowing those who commit crimes to stay here, supporting abortion rights, destroying the ability of kids to get good education in this country by blocking kids from private schools and school choice programs. The policy choices of the Democratic Party I find to be more immoral than the policy choices of the Republican Party, even as the Republican candidate you may think is a moral cretin. You can't look at the Democratic Party and what it subsidizes and what it supports, including the bunch of pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas supporters marching in the streets chanting death to the Jews, and think that, hey, this is a party I can do business with. This is a party I can support. I think it's far easier to decide not to support either party than to support the Democratic Party. I think it's far easier to decide my act of stewardship is to stay home and protest the quality of both candidates than to go vote for Joe Biden and the Democratic policies. But that's on you and your choice. I do think it's notable that where we're headed in politics in this country right now, very specifically, is that both parties are going to lecture and shame and bully people based on the other party. Neither party is going to try to sell its vision of America. Neither party is doing that. What they're doing is telling you, if you don't vote for my party, you're handing it over to the other side and they're going to destroy the country. I will say this, I get this all the time, and it is from a particular demographic subset of people who all the time wish to insist that Donald Trump is the only thing that can save the country. If Donald Trump is the answer to this country's salvation, then the country is already toast. That's just a fact. You may not like it, but that's just a fact. If Donald Trump is what is saving this country or allowing this country by his inability to get elected, the country's already gone. One man cannot be our salvation unless his name is Jesus Christ. One man can't buy this country's salvation. Salvation comes from the people. In a democracy, in a republic, salvation comes from us. Not spiritual salvation, not religious revival, but the salvation of this country, its perpetuation comes from the people, not from any political candidate. And when you internalize in your mind that it is the candidate, not the people, that it's the candidate that saves us, that's a real problem. And that suggests a cult of personality. On both sides, by the way, not just the Republican side. If you believe only Joe Biden can save this country, you're in a cult of personality. If you believe that Donald Trump is there, Joe Biden is the only thing saving us from Donald Trump, you're in a cult of personality. It's just simply not true. It is a sad state of affairs that we could get to this point in this country and be left with two 80-year-olds as the only viable candidates. And they're only the viable candidates because the bases of the party decided they wanted a do-over from what they subjected us to in 2020. And I am not thrilled about it. I resent it. And if that makes me a bad Republican, so be it. Unlike many of you, I was an elected Republican. I don't know what the hell the Republican Party stands for anymore other than we hate the Democrats. I believe ideas matter. I think principles matter. I'm a conservative before I'm a Republican. I'm a Christian before I'm a conservative. I know what my values are. I know what my views are. I know what my principles are. I know what my positions are. And I try to find a candidate who aligns as closely as possible to that. And when confronted by candidates who don't align in either direction with the principles and values that I have, I think it's easy to say I'm not going to vote. But at the end of the day, as well, Donald Trump did a good job picking judges. He did a good job advancing American interests abroad. And for all the talk about the Democrats saying, well, Donald Trump would destabilize us and bring chaos to the world, we have chaos now, but we have chaos because of Joe Biden and his weakness on the world stage. We have a bunch of aggressive, progressive soldiers in government advancing a progressive agenda that is hateful to people of faith and hateful to families and hateful to children. And this is the environment in which we're forced to choose. I understand so many people wanting to opt out of it. I do. But I also understand there are clear differences, clear policy differences between the two parties. And at the end of the day, one of them, Republican or Democrat, not third party, one of them, Republican or Democrat, is going to get elected. It is not an easy election. It's not a fun one to go through. I usually enjoy election season. Not this time. What I do enjoy, though, is taking great classes from Hillsdale College that reinvigorates my faith in this country. Hillsdale College does such a good job of reminding people of the specialness, of the uniqueness of the United States and why it's so good. Hillsdale College right now wants to give you a class on citizenship, its decline and how it can be revitalized. It's taught by Victor Davis Hanson. And I would hope you would consider going to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com and signing up for it. No charge. All you do, put in your email address. You can take it at your own place, at your own pace, in your own place, for that matter. The classes are taught by Victor Davis Hanson. They're a series of lectures on American exceptionalism and American citizenship and its decline and what the progressives are doing to ruin citizenship and what we in this country can do to revitalize it. It'll make you appreciate the founders, the founding ideals, and American citizenship. All you have to do is go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com today, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up. Begin a relationship with Hillsdale College. They have so many great lectures, not just this one from Victor Davis Hanson, but so many others on C.S. Lewis, on the Constitution, on citizenship, and more. They're committed constitutionalists and conservatives who reinvigorate the mind. Hillsdale College is like a monastery for the mind of America, and they want you a part of it. They want you to be in a relationship with them, and it's so easy to do. Just go to ericforhillsdale.com today and sign up with them. All right, y'all can have a laugh at my expense. In about 15 minutes, I got to be on television on News Nation. And I also have to go to the gym. Since I was gone last week, I got to get back to the gym. Well, I got to get to the gym by 3:30. I got to be on TV at 3:15. So I am literally now in commercial break changed. I have my gym shorts on and my running shoes. And then I have a coat on and I have my button-down shirt. And the moment I get off TV, I got to get off the jacket and the shirt and put on the T-shirt that I have sitting on my desk ready to go so that I can run to the gym. But now I've got my dress shirt is literally tucked into my my shorts. And, this is, I remember one time I was on CNN. Aaron Burnett had come to CNN. I was still doing CNN before I'd gone to Fox and had on I'd promised my son at the time, he was probably 6. and I promised him that I would take him to the pool in our neighborhood. So I had on my swim trunks, and I had on like a suit, like dress shirt and coat, and then my shorts. And I stood up. We were done with the interview, and I was still connected. I stood up, and Aaron Burnett says, "What are you wearing?" I'm taking my kid to the pool. So, yes, today, there we have it. Yes, fun times. All right. Deadspin has been purchased. Now, for those of you who do not know, Deadspin is a very progressive sports site. Deadspin is the site that accused the little boy who went to the Chiefs game and had his face painted red and black, the Chiefs colors, that they put up a picture of him one side of his face and claimed he was in blackface, and shame on the Kansas City Chiefs for allowing this little boy in. And they refused to apologize for a while after it came out. They weren't really telling the whole story. The writer doubled down on it even after the site apologized, and the family's now suing Deadspin. Well, Deadspin has now sold itself to some Germans and fired every single one of the writers at Deadspin. Good riddance to them. I don't like cheering on when people lose their jobs. But seeing a group of progressives who ran that site into the ground, attacking anyone who enjoyed sports for the sake of sports, without the politics of it. Watching bad things happen to bad people can sometimes be an enjoyable experience. And they are a bunch of terrible people at that site. I want to watch sports for the sake of sports. Like, I'm a little bit perturbed. I was watching UFC last night, so all the guys came over. We agreed on Saturday night not to watch the pay-per-view UFC fight. We'd watch it on Sunday, and there's Candace Owens, there's Donald Trump, there's a bunch of conservatives and Republicans, and if they like it, that's fine. UFC is really not my thing. I don't know. There's something in the back of my head that just tells me that it's not something I should be watching. I don't care whether you watch it or not. I don't know that there's a particular religious or theological argument against it, unless it's like the gladiatorial fights, but those were taking people's lives. And nonetheless, I just seeing a sport so tied to any political party, I just want to watch a sport for the sake of watching sports and enjoy it. I don't want to watch it because I'm a Republican or not watch it because I'm a Republican. I just want to enjoy the sports. And Deadspin, you had to like be a political leftist to read their site. Now they're gone. Good riddance.